Today, I'm going to outline a path, a vision for an affordable, secure, reliable, cleaner energy future. One marked by a shared commitment across many industries to innovation, action, and problem solving. I'm going to challenge myths, share undeniable facts, and bring in other voices to share their perspective. And I want to hear from you. Post comments and ask your questions on your screen throughout my remarks. When Americans talk about energy, the conversation often results in an either-or debate. We've become conditioned to pit using energy against making environmental progress. Yet history has shown that this is a false choice. Both developing energy and reducing emissions are essential to advance our society and protect the environment. Without energy and environmental progress, we risk national security, quality of life, and the American experiment. And that's where natural gas and oil enter the picture. Both are supporting our nation's recovery and eventual comeback from the COVID-19 pandemic. Take the last 10 months. Our products served as critical building blocks for millions of face masks, surgical gowns, and other PPE worn by frontline workers. Our crews worked long shifts to make those products and power hospitals and plants so others could stay safe at their workplace or get the care they need. We fueled emergency vehicles, trucks to transport vaccines, airplanes to deliver medical supplies. In 2020, our nation's most critical time of need, our industry's workforce proved day in and day out that we are essential. The millions of men and women whose jobs are supported by our sector reflect our industry's commitment to step up, take action, and solve problems. Our resilience, values, and principles are essential to America's success and recovery, and they are evident among our workforce and communities across the United States. Because reliable energy is so central and consequential to everything else in the economy, we don't get caught up in every political battle of the moment. We keep the focus on the essential work America depends on, producing and delivering American energy, contributing to America's national security, answering the climate challenges with action and American ingenuity, and keeping energy affordable for all. This focus is nothing new. Here's our track record. First, thanks to American technology and innovation, the United States is now the world's leading producer of natural gas and oil. If the Permian Basin alone was a country, it would be the third highest producing nation in the world. Second, securing America's energy future has long been a point of unity. Since the 1970s, 9 U.S. presidents have focused on American energy security and advocated for reducing our nation's dependence on foreign oil, and for good reason. Third, cleaner U.S. natural gas for electricity generation has removed over 3 gigatons of CO2 emissions that otherwise would have been emitted between 2006 and 2019. What does that mean? Even before the recent economic downturn, U.S. emissions were about as low as in the 1990s, while economic growth doubled. Finally, energy affordability is more important than ever. As we recover from the pandemic, a government that's focused on recovery for all should reject policies that could drive up energy costs and hurt those who can least afford them. And that's the case we're making, an approach we'll take in working with President Joe Biden and his administration. Our country has a lot of economic ground to make up, millions more jobs to recover, and when the business at hand is economic revival, no industry can help more than this one. The pandemic offered reminders of just how crucial the natural gas and oil industry is to everyday life. Consider that back in April, when everything was shut down, global demand for oil was still 81 million barrels a day. Many of the PPE products that everybody needed, things like gloves and face masks and clear plastic shields, are petroleum-based, yet lost in the rhetoric by some. these facts are ignored. We are all familiar with the caricatures of the oil and gas industry, but I can assure you that whatever the issue, whatever the controversy, we're going to stay on mission with positions based in reason, fact, and reality. Change is in motion, but it's a long arc, and the majority of the world's energy needs are projected to come from natural gas and oil far into the future. Meeting this demand is going to require hundreds of billions of dollars of investment, more exploration, more production. Our industry is prepared to meet this challenge. After a year of crisis, everyone is ready for recovery. The surest way to bring recovery to a stop is to remove affordable energy from the picture, with more regulations, more taxes, more restrictions on access. But if lawmakers curtail resource development and energy prices spike, it's working people and consumers who will suffer. I've been in towns across this nation where people wondered for decades what it would take to bring their economies back to life. The answer finally came with energy production. Suddenly, where opportunity was needed most, we've seen good-paying union jobs, Main Street businesses opening and hiring, property values going up, and school districts thriving on a higher tax base. There are hundreds of versions of this same story as resource development has turned things around nationwide. Here's one version from Ashley Nyman, a teacher in the state of New Mexico.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me. My name is Ashley Nyman, and I am from a small town in northern New Mexico. I currently live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I teach fourth grade at Enchanted Hills Elementary. I've been in education for 16 years, and the reason I love teaching so much is because that I have the power to be a positive influence on my students. When they're in my room, I teach them that they can be anything they want to be. I get to be that positive influence, and I encourage them to believe in themselves, no matter their ability, no matter their background, no matter their zip code. For me personally, as a teacher, the oil and gas industry is so important because for fiscal year 2020, we received $1.4 billion in funding. And what that means is for K-12, we were able to receive $1.1 billion. And that money has just paved the way to make a brighter future for all students. Some of the things that would happen if we did not have that kind of funding, at my school in particular, we would not have the resources to provide an exemplary education for all students. We would begin to see fewer teachers. And if we see fewer teachers, that means class sizes increase significantly. The other thing is when we look at materials, we want to adopt new materials so that we can provide the greatest education for all students. But that would unfortunately cause us to have to use outdated curriculum, and we don't want to put our students at a disadvantage. For me as a teacher, I believe we have to prioritize and continue to focus on STEM education, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And in my classroom, when I do that, that funding gives me the resources I need so that when I teach a lesson, hopefully I can spark an interest or a passion that leads my students into one of those career fields. And I just think as, a state and a nation, we want to develop our students to be critical thinkers and to be problem solvers. We want them to compete globally so that we maintain our lead in the world. And I think, all people need to understand all the benefits of oil and gas and how it helps all of us to be, a better state, especially for my state of New Mexico, and a better nation. And so I'm grateful for all the opportunities that has given myself, my family, and my fellow New Mexicans. Thank you.
When policymakers weigh their plans for an industry, the first people they should consult are the ones like Ashley, who are most directly affected by it. From afar, it's easy to call for bans on leasing or fracking, but up close, the reality is that fracking is safe, a marvel of technology, critical to this nation's security, and a lifeline to local economies, governments, and schools. Take all that away, and millions in local tax revenue and millions of jobs go right with it. In New Mexico, such losses are so much more than numbers on a page. A federal leasing and development ban could mean 62,000 people out of a job and more than $1 billion per year from New Mexico's budget to support schools, roads, and hospitals could be at risk. So our new president and Congress have some big decisions to make on energy. Energy abundance or foreign dependence? American jobs or outsourced jobs? Economic revival or small town decline? Progress or retreat? When we talk about private energy investment, infrastructure should come to mind. The economy cannot run at full speed unless we deliver energy from where it is to where it's needed. And there's no safer means than a pipeline. This nation is already served by hundreds of thousands of miles of pipelines. Americans depend on that network every day, and we're going to need many more miles, which is not a problem, but an opportunity. Infrastructure is an unrivaled job creator, from the work site to the manufacture of materials. And it happens that in America, we're very good at building pipelines. Altogether, we're an industry that supports more than 10 million American jobs. It's a strong, skilled workforce made up of men and women who like the jobs that they have. And more than that, they know that they're involved in something essential. Here's Jim Snell from Steamfitters Local 420 in Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. I'd also like to say thank you to API for giving me the platform to voice my opinion on the state of affairs when it comes to oil and gas in the southeastern part of the state of Pennsylvania, in particular the Philadelphia and the surrounding region. Look, oil and gas to Steamfitters Local 420, which I am the business manager. It's been a boon, to say the least. I've been a business manager of Steamfitters Local 420 since April of 2019. And just in that short period of time from then until now, there's been quite a few projects related to the oil and gas industry. One of them being the Mariner East project, pipeline project. This has affected my members in a very significant way, in a great way. That project has taken on many members of Steamfitters Local 420. And once this project's completed, it's going to benefit hundreds and hundreds of members of Steamfitters Local 420. They're going to be able to be on a site working, okay, at the Marcus Hook complex, making quite a bit of money, wages and benefits, which is going to be extremely beneficial to them and their families, as well as my local union. These are projects where they are working a lot of the time. They're working overtime, making good wages, being able to buy their first homes, being able to send kids to college. It has a direct effect on my members. It also has a direct effect on my benefit plans for Steamfitters Local 420, my health and welfare funds, my pension funds, my annuity, okay, my annuity fund. When the oil and gas industry is busy, which it has been for the most part, it fills my coffers up of those certain funds. My members, when they're on these projects, they're able to hone their skill set. You take, for instance, a welder. A welder just wants to weld all day and be productive. On oil and gas projects, he's able to do that, okay? He's able to hone his skill set. Whereas compared to, a renewable site, not able to do that. This is an industry which has been beneficial to my members for years and years and years. And with the abundance of shale that's right under our feet, we're hoping for many more years to come. Mike, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Take care.
Jim speaks for so many other workers who ask only to do the important work they know best. Yet they are often left as onlookers in attempts to close down projects like Line 5, Dakota Access, Keystone XL, and the Atlantic Coast pipelines. Here are projects essential to our economic comeback, and yet each one of them is a magnet for obstruction and litigation. The political environment remains polarized, but here's my reading of the 2020 election. In both parties, there is substantial support for American energy production, and the balance of power has shifted to the moderate middle. For most voters, it's just a matter of common sense that we should rely on our own energy and invest in our own resources, not send US dollars to other countries for energy that we need. A growing economy and millions of jobs hang in the balance. Here's another thought about deeply felt public concerns at the start of 2021. We've all just seen what a global health crisis looks like. We've seen how terribly wrong things can go. We've also seen the best science and technology in the amazing speed of the developing of a vaccine. We should take lessons from how we meet the challenges of our time. So it's fair to ask, on the critical issue of climate change, what is being done right now? I don't mean what is being said or promised or declared as a collective goal at a signing ceremony, but rather what is actually being done. In our industry, unlike others, we can answer that question in direct and tangible terms. No nation anywhere has reduced annual greenhouse gas emissions more than we have in the United States. Over the last decade, we achieved the largest ever decline in energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. That almost didn't happen. If policymakers had restricted access to developing oil and natural gas in hopes of addressing climate change, emissions would have been greater than what actually happened. Take the last time Congress considered climate legislation, the 2010 Waxman-Markey bill. If enacted, Congress projected CO2 emissions in 2019 would decline as much as 10% below 2007 levels. But in fact, because of industry innovations and improvements like hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling that enabled companies to reach more natural gas, U.S. CO2 emissions in 2019 declined at a greater rate, nearly 15% below 2007 levels. We haven't been waiting on guidance or on orders from others. We have done this all on our own initiative, with our own money, with our own engineering and technology. We've exceeded the goals that even the most heavy-handed regulators wanted to impose on us. For example, industry actions have helped reduce methane emission rates by nearly 70% in the largest producing U.S. regions. When demand and production go up significantly, while emissions go significantly down, we're clearly on the right track. This is the biggest story on the biggest environmental challenge of our time. We look forward to working with the Biden administration on policies to continue this downward trend on methane emissions. We recently took action with a flaring program to further reduce flaring in our operations. More than 80 natural gas and oil companies, representing over 70% of total onshore U.S. production, are taking action to further cut methane emissions through the Environmental Partnership. Our ingenuity has enabled a massive shift from coal to natural gas and power generation. And because we produce enough at home, we have a surplus of natural gas to export overseas, allowing us to help other nations make that switch for themselves and reduce their emissions profile. Late last year, U.S. LNG exports reached a record high, and they are forecast to increase 30% this year. With this breakthrough, American energy is enabling the transition to cleaner power generation and accelerating environmental progress across the world. U.S. liquefied natural gas export are a far cleaner option for electricity generation in places like China, India, and other nations in Southeast Asia. Environmental goals are easy to declare. The more far-reaching, the better. But nothing is actually accomplished by announcements and agreements. Someone still has to invest the capital and do the innovating and engineering. That's what our industry has been doing. That's why the United States today is the world leader in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. What would have happened had America gone the other way, with a command and control model? We would have locked in old methods, missed out on a generation of new technologies, and come nowhere near the incredible environmental gains that we've seen. Mandates get us nowhere. Look at California. You've got millions of people, some of whom are paying the highest electricity rates, in part because the state has been shutting down natural gas power plants. The logic of that is a mystery, and Californians have a chance to think about it every time there's a heat wave and the system requires a blackout. The Golden State is now pledging to eliminate the internal combustion engine by 2035. This would remove the most affordable and reliable transportation option for most residents. Should this extreme proposal play out, it would further increase electricity demand, adding to the state's ongoing power crisis. And don't forget that the electric vehicle tax credit has overwhelmingly benefited the wealthiest of households, with middle-class Americans footing the bill. Forced electrification limits options for consumers. Americans want popular vehicles, fueled by reliable gasoline, a gallon of which costs $2 less than it did a dozen years ago. Electrification mandates also ignore clear environmental progress. Today's new cars, trucks, SUVs, and buses run about 99% cleaner than models produced in 1970, reducing pollution, even as vehicle miles traveled per year have nearly tripled. Bottom line, California is trying to force an energy change that it simply isn't ready for, and technology doesn't exist to support, putting its residents at risk. So no one should be surprised when reality keeps interfering. The constant impulse to mandate and make headlines never quits, and it never ends well. Whether our critics admit it or not, our industry is a driver of technology progress against greenhouse gas emissions, among other environmental challenges. It is our technology that is making all the difference, and we're pointing the way forward. Here's Barbara Berger of Chevron with some perspective on how her company is using technology to achieve environmental goals.
Thanks, Mike, for the opportunity to share Chevron's approach to the energy transition. I'm Barbara Berger, Chevron's Vice President of Innovation and President of Chevron Technology Venture. The demand for affordable, reliable, ever cleaner energy will continue to grow, and oil and gas will play a vital role in a lower carbon future. Our approach is based on 3 action areas: to reduce the carbon intensity of our operations, to increase the use of renewables and offsets to support our operations, and to invest in low carbon technologies that can commercially scale. In order to meet the energy transition, new low carbon technologies are needed in the areas of carbon capture, the hydrogen value chain, energy storage, to name a few. So we collectively need to encourage and support early stage innovation to meet the challenge. But innovation that cannot scale won't have the impact that is needed. It will require a diversity of capital and capabilities to de-risk, commercialize, integrate into the energy system, and ultimately to scale the use of these new lower carbon technologies. Chevron understands the size of this challenge, and we're all in. No one company, sector, or geography can solve climate change or the energy transition. It will require partnership on many fronts to make this happen. Chevron's approach to the energy transition is practical and action-oriented, and it will position Chevron to be a leading player in a future energy system that will provide affordable, reliable, and ever cleaner energy to enable human progress.
That's just a snapshot of how this industry is keeping its technological edge. And the amazing thing, after all those tens of billions of dollars invested, is that the energy we produce remains so affordable. It can be a little galling then to hear ourselves spoken of as a quote-unquote subsidized industry that enjoys preferential tax treatment. Manufacturers in general are encouraged by tax law and a competitive economy to recover their investment costs because these investments serve the public interest by creating new jobs, goods, and services. In our case, the investments help to deliver the very same environmental progress that we all want to see. Deductions incentivize investment in exactly the way the tax code is designed to. This talk of subsidies is a false and tiresome claim. We have heard it all before. In 2021, as always, we're going to defend the principle that energy producers should be treated like any other manufacturer. We can't forget that it's low-cost, reliable, and secure energy that makes our industries competitive in the global marketplace. Here in Washington, we'll continue to make our case. We'll rely on an educated American public that supports our innovative efforts and greatly appreciates affordable energy. At this very moment, we have thousands of energy citizens and viewers from all 50 states, as illustrated in the map behind me, demonstrating the wide reach and millions of advocates representing our industry. They know that higher energy costs can mean a real setback. During the past decade, while the cost of most everything has skyrocketed, household energy expenditures have plunged by about 15%. Even so, we hear the term energy poverty to describe places where you can't get safe, affordable natural gas because the infrastructure just isn't there yet. Here's a leader whose name we all know, Dr. Benjamin Chavis, with thoughts on that problem and the solution.
I'm Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr., President and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, representing the Black press of America. We have 230 African-American owned newspaper, African-American owned businesses across the country to get the word out. And we're so pleased to have this opportunity with the American Petroleum Institute. I particularly want to thank Mike Sommers for giving us an opportunity to join in assessing the state of American energy in 2021. The issue of access to energy, particularly equal access to energy for people of color and all Americans actually, but the reality is there are poverty deserts. There's sometimes there are energy poverty places where we don't get access to energy. Natural gas is so affordable, but we need to make sure that natural gas is accessible to all communities. And that's why we want to overcome these, what's called energy poverty places in America. One of the things that we have enjoyed over the last several years is a close working relationship with the American Petroleum Institute and the NNPA. And that is why as we begin 2021, our future outlook is how to make progress, how to expand the opportunities. I'm also concerned about the new technology and building opportunities for particular minorities to be involved in all of the infrastructure projects that also will be coming. So I'm hopeful that 2021 will not only be a year of transition, but a year where we focus on diversity and inclusion, not only in terms of words, but our deeds. And I think there's just so many opportunities in the oil and gas industry in America. And of course, API is leading the role. So on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, count on us as your partner. We want to help, really tackle this issue of energy poverty. Our communities in which we serve are eager to get involved, eager to move forward, and eager to make progress. And of course, having energy and having access to energy is the single most important key to progress in 2021. I'm Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr. Thank you for listening.
In this energy abundant country, the last thing anyone should have to worry about is energy. And so an industry whose mission is energy for everyone will always have more to do, and we have much to be proud of. We're going into 2021 with confidence and with a sense of purpose. A tough and unique year for America is thankfully over. A strong economic recovery is within reach for our country, and a lot will ride on the strength of the energy industry. Looking ahead, when we say we are building the future, we're conveying our confidence in a brighter, better lives for Americans everywhere. As part of that commitment, our industry is laser focused on environmental, social, and governance issues and safety. An API staffer recently told me how his father-in-law, a longtime employee in the energy industry, often heard colleagues at a job site asking, "Is everything API?" Meaning, is everything safe? Is everything up to spec? Those questions, that culture, defines our operations and guides our shaping of the future. And that culture isn't static. It's defined by endless innovation. That's why today we're excited to kick off API Energy Excellence. With this new program, we're creating a roadmap for accelerating safety and environmental progress across all segments of our industry. API standards for nearly a century have supported the safe and environmentally responsible development and movement of natural gas and oil operations. In the last 2 years alone, API has published more than 35 state-of-the-art standards that help mitigate the risks of climate change through the deployment of modern technologies and processes. API Energy Excellence is the next big step. As energy leaders, all API members now participate in the API Energy Excellence program. Under this program, our members commit to continuous improvement and operational excellence through annual reporting. In everything they do, they'll choose a path to accelerate progress for workers, communities, and the environment. In closing, the world changed in 2020. It will change again in the future. One constant should be the energy that we produce in the United States. The government recognizes our staying power. It quickly identified our industry workforce as essential workers at the start of this pandemic. Whether it's making PPE, moving affordable energy, or refining our fuels more efficiently, we're proud of our work, and it's ongoing. With all the disruptions across the economy, our industry continues to deliver without interruption. We keep the lights on, we heat homes and hospitals and businesses, we fuel cars and trucks, never in doubt. That's because the people of this industry step up. They don't need the government to tell them that they are essential. In reality, every day, pandemic or not, the men and women of our industry show up and do extraordinary work, often unseen and unrecognized. That is consequential. To those essential workers listening, thank you. We are glad you're on it and applaud the resilience, determination, and skill you show day in and day out. America faces no shortage of challenges, but we will tackle them all and come out stronger thanks to you. We are American energy, restoring the economy today, preserving America's energy leadership tomorrow, and building a better future for all. Thank you.